How did you get to know Jim Rohn? I flew all over the world with him, spoke in front of millions of people. We were always behind stage together. And if it wasn't for Jim Rohn, I wouldn't be here today. Years and years ago, if you read any of his books, he talks about how he started out as a broke young man looking for an opportunity. He drew the line in the sand and said, that's it. I'm never gonna live like this ever again. He did the work, he became a millionaire. See, that's what happened to me. I came out the gate and crushed it as I just continued to follow directions, and that put me in a situation where I was out producing everybody. But when you really make success happen, and you no longer are after money, I'm telling you, the freedom is what you're looking for. Jim Rohn changed my life. Let me change yours. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast with Anthony Powell. I'm excited to be with you here today. I told you that we're going to be working on all the different types of digital entrepreneur mindsets that I went through over the last 25 years. You know, I started at the age of 19 by accident. I'll tell you my complete story here and over the next 3 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to get into the 10 lessons that earned me over $10 million in my 20s. So for those of you that don't know, when I was 19 years old, I was really starting to pursue becoming an entrepreneur. I just had no business sense. I had no money. I had about $150 to my name, and I really didn't know where to go. Like many of you guys out there, I started looking into all different types of businesses, whether it's an online store or whether it was creating a product, a service, you name it. I went into nutrition supplements, and nothing ever worked for me. The main reason why it didn't work was because I didn't have enough money and I did not have a skill. So one day I had a friend call me and he said, listen, Anthony, I have an opportunity for you to take a look at a business that is really profiting me a lot of money. I said, oh, really? What is it? He said, well, come on down and two things are going to happen. He said, A, you're going to see what I see and we're going to make a lot of money together. And B, you're not going to see what I see and it's okay. You don't have to do it. We'll be friends. I won't talk about it again. Well, I went down to this meeting and there was about 800 people there. And there was a gentleman that you all know named Jim Rohn was there. And he was basically doing one of the big lectures, and I was just blown away because I didn't know who Jim Rohn was. And for those of you that don't know who Jim Rohn is, he was Anthony Robbins' personal mentor. Anthony Robbins worked in his phone room, marketing and promoting his books and tapes back in those days. And that's where Anthony Robbins got his start, in Jim Rohn's phone room. Well, Jim Rohn was up there talking, totally blew me away. There was people screaming, clapping on chairs. I didn't know what was going on. So I was going to actually leave, even though Jim Rohn's section was so powerful. And about 3/4 of the day, I really saw some things that impacted me. And at the very end of it, I was like, look, I'm in. What do I got to do? And the guy walked up to me who became my mentor. His name was Mark. He said, listen, it's $4,000 to start. And I said, oh, I don't have $4,000. And he said, listen, son, how much longer do you want to continue to live like that? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Because, I come from a very, hardworking middle-class family. So, not having a lot of money is pretty typical. Using credit cards and trying to pay them off is pretty typical. So being 19 years old, I didn't have a lot of money. We're not supposed to at 19, right? That's what we thought. That's what we're programmed to think anyways. So he said, listen, if you want this bad enough and you want to change your life and change the trajectory of your family from you forward, you're going to find the money. And you know what? I went home that day driving and I said, gosh, he's right. If I don't change what I'm currently doing, even though I'm 19 years old, I was like looking at my uncles and aunts and people that were like 20 years ahead of me. I don't want their life. So if I'm going to continue to do what they're doing, I'm going to get what they have. Or if I'm going to go to all the holidays and hang around with my family, guess what? What they have, I'm going to have. What's normal to them was going to be normal to me, is what Jim Rohn told me that day. So the bottom line is I found the money, and to make a long story short, I came back, got involved, and it was a big nutrition company. It was in the direct sales industry. I'm not going to talk about the name. You guys all know them. And they were not doing very much at that time. They're doing about $90 million a year. And it just so happened I lucked out. There was a guy named Mark Hughes, Larry Thompson, and course, Jim Rohn. They were all the company legends and leaders of that. And then my mentor, the other Mark, he had earned over 100 million and was pretty much retired, but he took me under his wing. And I did everything he asked me to do. The one thing he said to do was to, move all my products, which I had $5,000 worth of products. I moved them all my first month, part-time, around a full-time job, around going to university. And I still moved $5,000 worth of products based on what Mark told me to do. And the one thing he told me to do, write this down, take my fear and turn it into action. Because, when I saw all this product show up, I was scared to death. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know what the direction was. I had no business sense. All I saw was a credit card bill and I had no money. So I just went to work. And I'll tell you what I did. We're not going to spend any time on it right now. We'll dig into this later, one of my other podcasts. But I started doing 2,000 car flyers a day in the rain. I lived in Seattle, Washington. I don't tell people that because, the people up there are a little different. But, I started doing 2,000 car flyers a day. I started doing pull tabs at mailboxes, the little tabs. You got to pull one with the phone number. I started doing that. I started doing signs on the side of the road for products and for affiliates. And I did that 7 days a week. I wanted out. That's it. When I locked the door, I threw away the key and I knew that I was going to become a millionaire in this. I just didn't know how. I didn't know when. And that's when I really started to pay attention to Mark. Mark gave me all the rules. He said, get up early, go to bed late, do personal development in the morning, how to do personal development. We'll dig into all this stuff. But what happened, guys, is after my first year, I was able to fire my boss and go full-time at this at earning over $10,000 a month. And for me, $10,000 a month was like robbing a bank. Nobody in my family made $10,000 a month. Nobody. So for me to make $10,000 in a month part-time, it blew my mind. But I was working my butt off, right? I was doing 24/7, like bell to bell. I was doing what average people just won't do. It didn't matter. Like, we can sleep when we're dead. And so I wanted out of just getting by. And the other little thing was at the back of my head was my mom used to cry in a bedroom every single night because she couldn't afford to put shoes on my feet. I'm a tall guy, right? I'm 6'5". I was very tall growing up, quick, fast, ate all the time. I was in every sport you could imagine. She just couldn't afford to put the shoes, the clothes, the things, keep up with my growth rate. And so I got to understand what it was like to not have money. That feeling put me in a position of have to. I never wanted to, me forward, put my family through that. When I choose to have kids, I don't want them to have that fear. I want them to have the right schooling, the right food, the right tutors, the right trips, everything that we want in life. I don't want to stumble over money. And see, that's what I'm going to be able to help you guys with on this podcast. As I start to go through all the different things that got me to become a multimillionaire, I'm going to go through all the battles. I'm going to go through all the victories with you. I'm going to teach you online marketing. I'm going to teach you the do's and don'ts. But the one thing you've got to get down is you've got to get down personal development, or business will not happen for you. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's just not going to happen. If you don't have the right mindset, what's going to happen for you is you're going to hit a bump in the road. Someone's going to say boo. You're going to run out of money. Something's going to happen. You're going to quit. If you watch me on Instagram, which I highly recommend you do, watch my stories every day. Anthony Powell, #1. That's my Instagram handle. I talk about the victory, but I also talk about the battles. The battles are no one really is going to tell you about when my lights got turned out. Right? I'm sitting there doing calls and my lights are turned off because I used every dollar in advertising. I didn't have any money for the power bill. Or when I tried to get a loan and they laughed at me, the bankers. Or all the little things that happened to me, like girlfriends that walked out because they said, oh, you don't pay attention to me because all you do is this business. It's all the dark nights. Going for $10,000 a month part-time my first year was nothing. The work I had to do was nothing compared to that pain that I saw my mom go through. It was nothing. Next year I went full-time, got to a little over $20,000 a month. And here's what I did. I took the money, I reinvested it in more advertising. So every month I increased it. Write this down. You do not want to spend your profit. What you need to do is take your profit, reinvest 100% of it, stay at your job, work part-time on your future and full-time at your job. It's okay to have a job. It's not okay to think you can stay there for the rest of your life. You're not going to be anywhere ahead in life financially. So End of my second year, I told you, it was like well over $20,000 a month. I just kept putting money back in. I lived in a little bitty apartment, right? Studio. And by the time I was 26 years old, with that philosophy of living under my means, putting all my money back into advertising, I got up to a little bit over 10 million taxes paid by the time I was 26 years old. So how did I do that in my 20s? What were the things that I went through in order to do that? And the number one thing I learned was, you want to write this down, is I mastered a skill called digital closing. So what is a digital closer? A digital closer is someone that can work from wherever there's an internet connection, coffee shop, hotel room, your home, car, pool cabana, ski resort, wherever there is an internet connection and you have a phone and a headset, right? Like, look, here's my headset. This is my Blue Parrot. It's the ugliest headset on the planet, right? Because you guys are going, yeah, why don't you have a Bud or the Apple Buds? It's because those only have a 50% cancellation on those things. This has a 96% cancellation. So when I'm on the phone, look at this. When I'm on the phone and I'm talking to someone, this microphone has no noise in the background. So people don't think I'm on a speakerphone, or they don't think I'm somewhere where I'm divulging their information, right? So what you got to understand is you got to have the right equipment. But a digital closer is someone that uses someone else's company, whether it's a product or service, for example, influencers, businesses, things of that nature, and they need you to help them close their high-ticket products and services. So what's a high-ticket product? Something that's $1,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 plus, and you're going to get anywhere from a 10 to a 25% commission doing so. So what you do is you master a skill called sales. Sales is the number one thing you can learn in life. Now, I'm not talking about learning used car sales. And if you're in used car sales, no disrespect to you, okay? But this isn't about learning high-pressured sales. I've mastered a system called the digital sales line system. And what it does is it keeps people in a single file line. It's a masteries program that I've mastered from my mentor, and I took it to the next level. It's called Digital Sales Academy. You want to write this down. If you have not heard about Digital Sales Academy, I'm not going to pitch you on it right now. The link is in my bio. But the bottom line is I haven't met anyone today, and I'm not trying to say this to boast myself at all, because I give all my success to my mentors. But no one's really done the sales that I've done in this industry. I've done well over $2 billion in sales, not just me 100%, but the people that have come with me and utilized my system. So we have an online SaaS CRM system that we've built, and it keeps the leads on a sales line. It has a 90 to 95% appointment confirmation rate, and we get people to our calls and we close deals. So we've been able to master this. See what I'm saying? If you have something that you can't master or something that you're attempting, it's not going to work. We mastered how to be a digital closer. We mastered the art of setting, and we mastered the art of digital closing. And the greatest thing about being a digital closer is you can literally be anywhere in the world and run your business. And many times as a digital closer, you make more than the owner. Why? Because you don't have the risk. The owner's got to pay for the copywriter, the funnel, the traffic, the employees, the fulfillment, the refunds, the merchant account fees, and it's like a huge headache owning your own business. So when you're a digital closer, you're using their business, their image, their leads, and you make the money closing their deals. So that's where I started, and that's where I mastered everything working with Mark. And I became a digital closer with his product and service within the one he was representing. And we went on to just, we went into 90 different countries with that product, and we travel all over the world. And that's when, and you'll hear the story, that's how I was able to meet and be with Jim Rohn for over 10 years. I mean, I feel very privileged and blessed that I've had the opportunity to be with Jim Rohn and travel to well over 70 countries with him, sitting right next to him on the airplane, hearing everything he's trying to teach me as a 20-year-old, right? And without him, and with all the money I made, I would have never been able to keep it. So that's what I'm going to be able to do with you over the period of time with this podcast with you. One, I'm going to teach you how to have a business, be a digital closer, and do all the little things, funnel management, funnel writing, copywriting, fulfillment. We're going to go over all that. But I'm going to teach you how to keep the money. okay? And I don't want you guys to take anything out of context. Everything I'm telling you here today is what I personally did. I'll always tell you, you've got to do the work. Nothing's gonna be free, nothing's gonna be easy, and you don't want it to be easy, because if it's easy, there's no value. Write that down. If it's easy, there's no value. So number one thing I mastered in order to earn 10 million in my 20s was I mastered the skill of digital closing. Number two, I built a strong team around me. And that's one of the things that I mastered, was how to build a team. And how do you build a team is by what's called delegation. Number one, you have to master that task or process, and then you have to delegate to somebody else. Now, how do you do that? It's something called inspect versus expect. So this is the biggest mistake every executive, every manager, every supervisor makes, is they go, okay, employee, we need to do X, Y, and Z today. Employee nods their head yes, which makes the manager, supervisor, executive, whoever say, oh, they got it. At the end of the day or the end of the week, you check in with them on the task. It's not done right or at all. The reason why is you've expected them to do it based on your information you distributed to them, but you made a mistake. You need to inspect what they're doing throughout the day. You need to have a check-in call, a check-in Zoom, a check-in moment with them to see, one, are they doing it right, and are they doing it on time? Now, before you let anybody go, meaning you give a task, you always make sure they recite it back to you what they're clear on. Before they leave or before they hang up on the Zoom or whatever they're doing, always make sure whatever you've instructed them to do, they say it back to you with ownership. That way you know that they're going to get the task done. Okay? Now, when you inspect, you're expecting what they've already committed to. See, this is leadership, guys. I had to learn this from my mentors. Most people, they make it to a supervisor, and then they get fired. Or they make it to a manager, they get fired. Or maybe an executive gets brought into a company and they don't know how to mobilize a group of people. It's inspect versus expect, guys. Or expect and inspect, the whole thing. It's such a simple thing to do, and it's such a simple thing not to do. I always, no matter where I go, I can get every single team to produce, even if they're a bunch of deadbeats. One, if they're deadbeats, I'm going to find out on the way that I inspect and expect, and I'm going to have to remove them and find other people. A lot of you guys get too attached to people because of the heart part of it, the human element. And in business, you got to get rid of that, and you got to learn business is business. Numbers are numbers, and you have to base all your business decisions on productivity and outcome. Okay, this is a big one. I just taught you a secret, how to build a team and how to build a team. Because here's what you got to do. When you build a team right, whether you're there or not, they're doing what you do. And when that happens, the company moves forward with or without you. I'm just telling you right there, if you can just get what I just taught you, you'll have a success. You'll take your company from small to medium to large to huge. Because then when you start gathering supervisors and managers, they're all doing the same thing because they came from the ground up. If you ever sell the company's sold with a philosophy, a management philosophy. It still grows with or without you. So that's a big one. Learn not to be influenced by material items. That's a big one, especially guys. A lot of guys, when they start making a little bit of money, they want to go out and get designer clothes. And, let's face it, let me call a spade a spade. You guys start throwing cash at women, trying to become the man and think the woman's going to give you a title in the street, in the club, in the restaurant. Listen, that woman will chew you up and spit you out faster than you thought possible because you thought she loved you. You went out there and spent a bunch of money on her, man, and you thought she respected you. It just satisfies your ego. And then when you realize she doesn't really love you, she leaves to the next guy with all your money, meaning purses, shoes. Just keep your money, guys, until you have a wife. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to try to impress a chick. And girls, you don't need to try to impress a guy with your boobs sticking out, your ass sticking out. Don't lose your dignity over trying to get some attention. You just got to focus on becoming you. You got to focus on loving yourself. You got to do the little things in life that makes you attracting the right person that you want to be around, business or personal. So learn not to be influenced by material items. Now, I didn't have my first brand new car was like 14 years, or I think it was like 12 years after I first started my business, even though I could have afforded it on year 2. The reason why I didn't get the car is I wanted more advertising. Like my first car was like an AMG S-Class, big boy, right? And I was freaking out. I leased it. They wanted $16,000 down because it was my first car ever, right? They're like, oh, this is your first brand new car, and here it's $150,000. I'm like, yeah, I was scared. Wired 16 grand. It was like $2,000 a month, 3-year lease. I was freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, do you know how much advertising I could buy with this? And Jim Rohn said to me, this is Jim Rohn. He said, son, it's okay. You've earned it. It's not too early. It's right on schedule. You could have done it a couple years ago. So enjoy it. When you're driving that car, you'll make $10,000 for that $2,000 you are paying to that car note. So don't be influenced by material items. All right, prioritize daily personal development with actionable goals and deadlines. Let me read that to you again. Prioritize daily personal development, write this down, with actionable goals and deadlines. In the mornings, I do personal development. I do an hour every single day, no matter what. If you brush your teeth, and I know you're laughing going, of course I do. You know what happens if you don't. Your teeth are going to rot out. So if you know this, then why would you not brush your teeth every day? Of course you do. The same thing goes for your mind. All right, the next one, guys, is write this down now. Prioritizing daily personal development with actionable goals and deadlines. One more time, prioritizing daily personal development and actionable goals and deadlines. So every single day, I do 30 minutes to an hour of personal development. And what you want to do is you want to read one chapter a day, one chapter. Now, why do you not want to do 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters? Because we're not looking to how fast we can read through the book. What we're looking for is we're looking for absorbing the knowledge and becoming the information, because we're looking to change over a period of time. Jim Rohn says, write this down, you go through a change every 90 days based on doing the personal development. So if you do every single day, in 3 months, you're going to have a difference of how you talk, walk, negotiate, everything to do with communication. But you got to make sure you're doing this every day. So what you want to do, and whether it's an audio book, a book, Kindle, whatever the deal is, an iPad, you want to make sure that you highlight and take notes. When you get done, now if the chapter is really short, do 2 chapters of personal development. If it's long, do 1 chapter. But what you need to do is you need to go back and read your highlights and notes. And you got to ask yourself these 2 questions. How can this impact my personal life, and how can this impact my business life? And you got to ponder that and utilize that information throughout the day. This is what you need to be doing with your personal development every single day. You got to have this time with yourself. Guys, 90% of your success is going to happen from your personal development. Let me repeat that. 90% of your business succeeding or not succeeding, or you in a career, or you in a profession, succeeding of that and doing that is going to come from your mind development. The next thing is in personal development is you become who you hang around. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but the bottom line with who you become who you hang around, sometimes this is horrible to say this. Sometimes you got to fire your family. You're going, oh no, I love my family. But listen, if your family's broke and not working on their brain, every word that comes out of their mouth is going to go to your subconscious brain. You guys got to get this down. You guys got to protect your brain. Jim Rohn says, I don't allow everybody around me. It's not that he's conceited. It's not that he's better than anybody. It's he's protecting his mind. And you got to get this down, because if you have what's called the dog pound philosophy, where you're just born in a group of big family members and you just got to hang around, they're all living their own lives during the day, right? And you come together every week, every 2 weeks, every once a month, holidays, whatever it is, and they're going to spew their beliefs on you. And you don't realize it. But little do you know, after a year or two, if they have a refrigerator in their front yard, guess what you're going to have in your front yard? A refrigerator. If they got cars on blocks in the front yard, you're going to have cars on blocks in the front yard. If they are focused on a Ferrari, you're going to focus on a Ferrari. If they only eat prime steak, you're only going to eat prime steak. If they eat shitty food, then it's normal for you to eat shitty food. Law of association's a law, folks. And as hard as it is for people to understand this law, it's like the law of flight is thrust and lift. The law of association determines everything in your life. That's why you've got to re-engineer your brain. Because this is what Jim Rohn taught me. For my first 18 years, my family raised me. Put everything they knew that they learned from their parents in my brain. Now, they love me. My mom loved me. I knew my mom loved me. My mom loved me so much I could feel it. But the poor woman was not financially literate. She had to go sweep the floor in the church. She had to cry. She didn't know how to make money. And her belief was join a union, which is ridiculous, right? Go out and try to get a job with benefits. Why don't you go get a business to give you profits to get whatever you want? But it's the belief that's handed down to people. And sooner or later, you're either going to accept it and settle, become one of them, which maybe you already have, which is easy to, you can always wake up from that and protect your mind and change, or you're just going to realize, put the brakes on, change now. I moved from Seattle, Washington to Houston, Texas. My whole family laughed at me. You're crazy. What are you doing? Because my family was like, even though I didn't have a father figure in my life, I had a grandfather that was amazing. I didn't have the man in my life, right? The guy that created me. So I had to go to other men to get the alpha energy, right? But I had a big aunts and uncles and all the family gatherings and stuff like that. When I made a decision to move cross country, I was scared, but it changed my life. Do you realize I've never gone home? It's been over 20 years. I get on the phone with them. I fly back to Seattle maybe once every 2-3 years. It's the same nonsense. But I don't tell them it's nonsense. I hug them and look them in their eyes and say, I love you. But I know it's not the information that I am going to receive. You got to be strong. You got to create from you forward. Understand, the people that raised you loved you, did the best they could, but you got to change that. I became the first 6-figure earner. I became the first millionaire. I became the first millionaire, which is over 10 mil. And it's gone way beyond that. But if I would have listened to the people around me, I'd be making $50,000 a year right now with a disposable house and disposable cars with credit card debt up to my ass. Yelling and screaming at my wife that I probably had 2 kids. The kids are hearing screaming and yelling. I didn't want any part of that. So you become who you hang around, and it basically is the law of association. So personal development, what it does for you, I'm digging into this and taking longer than I should, but what personal development is like a Navy SEAL for war, because life is not going to be good all the time. Matter of fact, it's bad more than it is good. How many wars we'll talk about over the next year I had to go through to get to the top? You see me in this beautiful, look at this background. You think I'm just sitting here with money rolling out of my ass? I am now, but let me tell you something. For years, I was sweating cash. Every dollar going back into advertising. Things I just had to focus, and advertising wouldn't work. Sitting at night with my lights off, scared, worried. I just kept going, because what personal development does, it prepares your mind to focus on what you need to do, not what you can't do. And I'll tell you this one thing that really helped me. Jim Rohn says it's all about every day what personal development gears you for. The birthdays, the deaths, the wins, the losses, and everything. Now I'm going to tell you a story. My mom, when she was alive, my mom's not alive right now. She died young. She called me one day. She said, hey, I have breast cancer. Now, the average Joe is going to shut down. I can't work anymore. I'm scared my mom's going to die. And it's a fearful thing, right? It's horrible. No, I don't want anyone's mom or girlfriend, wife, anyone to go through it. But the average Joe that's never done personal development will fall down. I flew to Seattle. Get this. I flew to Seattle. I said, Mom, I love you. I'm going to be in a rental car downstairs making phone calls. Digital closing, see? So what I would do is I'd sit down in that car with the car going, right? It's raining up there. I had the heat going. I had my laptop on the dash, my headset, call closing deals. And about every 2 to 3 hours, I'd go upstairs and spend an hour with my mom and tell her I love her. Hold her hand, cry with her. Mom, I'll be back. Go right back downstairs, call, closing deals. I had to hold my emotions back when I'm sitting on the phone. I had to have conviction. I had to have strength. I had to have certainty on the phone when I was down there. Personal development gave me that. I went long on that one because you got to get it. Life will deal life to you. And you can't just use personal development on your wins. You got to use personal developments on the breakups, the business windfalls, the sicknesses, the deaths, all the things. Here's the next thing. Leverage the power of technology to create systems. If you don't know who I am and you haven't done your research on Anthony Powell, one of the main things that I do in my life is I build the best online contact management systems. I was the first guy online to develop learning management systems. The universities where everyone's using now and the schools everyone's using now, I've been doing that since 1998. I built the first online school. That's how I was able to bring in over 1 million people as students, is I built a university where I brought everyone through the same exact process. I educated everybody on a process like a university where everyone watched the same video, went through the same process, and had the same outcome as far as education. certification goes. Certified the people and allowed them to move on towards the next tier of training. So I've been doing this for a long time. I don't know if you caught the number, but I put 1 million people through my online system. 1 million. So when you put 1 million people through, you learn the behavior of online etiquette, right? When people drop out, when people go all the way through. And I built things to learn along this process of how to keep people engaged. I learned what not to do. Like, for example, today you do not want people able to talk to each other in classrooms because then they disappear and they end up in different people's businesses. There's thieves out there. So the bottom line is I know every single piece of what's called an online CRM system, online university, online funnels. I'm like one of the pioneer OGs of this entire industry. And for years, I just focused on building my own stuff and not educating people that are not in my business. And I got so much slack from everybody saying, hey, you've built over 200 millionaires, thousands of six-figure earners. You've built this incredible digital CRM, LMS, university, funnel builder, system. Why don't you go teach people that are not in your business how to do this so you can solve the pain of online marketing? And that's what we're doing now. We got the podcast. We're going to dig into all the different things that I do. We're going to interview millionaires that are in different industries. We're going to dig into their come-ups. We're going to dig into their successes. We're going to dig into the technology they use and don't use and why. So guys, you got to leverage the power of technology, and it's moving faster than ever. But in order to be successful, you must have a system. McDonald's is a system. You must have a system. Okay, the next thing is learned. I learned that profits are better than wages, meaning leveraged income is more powerful than linear income. So write this down. There's 2 different types of incomes. There's linear income, which is exchanging $1 for time or time for money. So 99% of the people out there are groomed. It's called the matrix. This is what the matrix is. And they're groomed and they're brainwashed to think that you need a job. They're taught businesses are too hard. I need a job. I need to work 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 6. I must get a paycheck. I must get benefits is the only way for my security of life. And really what you're going to get is a kick in the ass. And decades will go by. But you're brainwashed. See, this is why kindergarten through 12th grade is that brainwashing time. It's the same. This is the art of duplication. Everyone's learning the same thing. It's duplication, brainwashing. Then you get into universities and it's super brainwashing. We're going to teach you how to be in the matrix and how to get a high paying job, which doesn't exist. Then when you get the job, you get in there and you go, wait a minute. I just spent 16 to 18 years of my life, 20 years of my life, more than that, 25 years of my life, educating myself, which is 25% of your entire life. And you're basically barely making above the people that aren't educated. Then you've got the good old liberal tax. They're going to tax 40% of your income. So now so think about this. If you have $100,000 a year W-2 job, they're going to say, hey, give us $40,000 in taxes and here's your 60 grand, you little employee, little slave. That's horrible. One thing Jim Rohn told me, he said, listen, when you accept your paycheck from your employer, and you're saying, oh, thank you. Or now you look in it's being deposited, right? Digitally deposited. You're saying, thank you. This is all I'm worth. This is all I'm worth. And you're going, no, it's not. Well, then do something about it. You can't sit there and work 5 days to 6 days a week for 4 weeks a month, year after year, and then finance a vacation for your family and think that's getting ahead. It's going backwards, guys. But you got to get yourself reconvinced. You got to understand you're not financially literate. You're working for linear income, exchanging your time for money. You've been brainwashed to think this. What you need to learn is what's called leveraged income. Write it down, leveraged income. They don't teach this in school. They teach you the big bad boys of Wall Street are bad guys. The insurance men and women are bad people because they take all your money. Well, no, they're not. They learned how to leverage. What's leverage? They use other people's money to leverage profits. Whether you work or not, write it down. Leveraged income is whether you work or not, you still get paid. You wake up, you get paid. But you got to build that. So you got to get, it's a linear income in the beginning and it turns into leveraged income. You got to have that type of business or that type of career that creates that, and then you can sell it. Okay. Next is your network is your net worth. That is cliche, right? You hear that, oh, your net worth is your net worth. It is true. Now, I'm not the kind of person, I'm not a clout person. I don't care if you've been in a movie. I don't care if you kicked a goal in a soccer. I'm a basketball fan. I don't care if you're the star of the basketball team. You're just a human being to me. So I'm not going to get you any of my energy or love just because you're a quote unquote athlete or star. I don't do those things. If you want my respect, you have to be something other than just someone with a bunch of money. Okay. So, but I do understand that your network is your net worth. So you got to go around people that have done what you've done. You've got to create a center of influence, and you got to create the right center of influence, the kind that is going to help you get where you need to go, not the kind that has agendas that's going to eat off of you, suck all your energy, not contribute information for your growth, not support you, not get behind you and cheer you on your victories or cheer you on your defeats. And I'm not saying baby you. I'm saying get around you and saying, get your ass going. You got this. That's what I'm talking about. So you got to get your network under control. Now, when I moved to Houston from Seattle, I knew nobody. I just threw a dart on a board and it ended up at Houston, Texas. And I said, I don't know anybody there. Anybody know people in Houston? I knew a couple people. Said, yeah, I do, but I didn't know them. So I drove all the way there. It was like 2,400 miles. I show up in Texas and I hated it for about the first month. And then I fell in love with it. But the thing is Jim Rohn, I said, what do? I don't know anybody. He said, start running 3 to 4 to 5 miles a day and put me in your ear. Meaning his books and tapes, his audios, the things that he has recorded over the years. He said, let me be your center of influence. And before you know it, I focused on my business, my personal development, and people started to meet me, and I started to build the center of influence of people just like me. I didn't have the leeches and the people's time suckers and the entourages and the people eating off me. I've had that. People, you go out to dinner and no one pulls out their wallet but me. Well, he's got money. You don't want those people. You want people fighting for the bill. Like when I go out, all my friends are like, no, I got it. And I'm saying, sit down. No, your card's going to decline. We're all joking with each other, right? Because we have respect for each other. We're not running to the bathrooms to hope to God that Jerry over there gets the tab. If that's how you are, you're not ready to go to the next level. You're not ready to go out and eat. That's for goddamn sure. It's okay. I wasn't ready to do that stuff either. I tell you this right now, this sounds really stupid, but I can still remember 1998, I went to a big meeting in Atlanta. I couldn't afford to eat, so I was drinking protein shakes because I put all my money into advertising. I mean, I was literally like, people go, well, you're rich because you're making $60,000 a month. Well, yeah, I was spending $62,000 in advertising. So I was eating like the one Taco Bell taco for like 39 cents, and then I'd have 2 shakes a day. Protein shakes, because everything was going into advertising and I was freaking out if it didn't work. And my mentor called me and says, hey, I'm going to buy you a meal, get this, at Chili's for $9. I'm still thankful today, 20, 30 years later, whatever the deal is, almost 20 years later, I'm still thankful for that meal at Chili's. You believe that? I can afford to spend $500 to $10,000 on a steak dinner tonight. But I'm thankful because that's what happens in your life when people do have an olive branch around you. You become thankful too. The next part is helping people get what they want is what gave me what I wanted. And Jim Rohn taught me that. He says, if you help enough other people get what they want, you will get what you want. Now, there's a fine line behind this. There's 2 different types of people. There's people that need your time and people that deserve your time. And the way I was raised is I gave all my time to people that needed it. Oh, woe is me, poor me. I'm not willing to work, but I want to suck all your time. I want to ask all these questions, but I don't want to work. Those people need your time. They don't deserve your time. Do you get me? You got to learn this, guys. This is tough love. The people that deserve your time are the ones that are pulling it out, do the work, and are failing. They need you. They deserve your time. They need you to go steer them in that little 10% difference. And then over time, what happens is you help them correct themselves, and all of a sudden, boom, they go off. Well, Jim Rohn says it's the little things that make the biggest difference. I was on a phone call yesterday. I said, I don't need anything from you right now. I don't need anything. Well, can we pay you? What can we do? I mean, this is a lot of information you're giving us. And most people, the information I gave him, to be honest with you guys, is about $100,000. I said, listen, this is my witness. This was the call yesterday. I said, listen, here's what will happen. If I serve you and get you what you need, I guarantee you're going to business back to me. And they're like, wow, really? You don't want us to pay you anything up front? I'm like, no, because you deserve my time. I know you're going to go do something with what I'm going to teach you. You're not one of these time suckers or tire kickers that's not going to do it. And because I know your network, and if I serve you properly, your network's going to find out about me because of what's happened to you. I don't need any money right now. See, that's helping other people get what they want. I know I can get that guy to 10,000, to 100,000, to $500,000, to $1 million a month in his business. I'm doing it. So if I help that person get there and say, do this, this, and this, me back, remember, inspect, expect, call this and tell them AP sent you. Here's what you want, bangity, bang, bang. I know it's gonna work. Okay, so these are the 10 things that I learned in my 20s. Let me go back and recap. Mastering a skill called digital closing. Number 2, build a strong team around me. Number 3, learn not to be influenced by material items. Man, that was a big one. Next was prioritize daily personal development with actionable goals and deadlines. Boy, that's so important. Leverage the power of technology to create systems. Learn profits are better than wages, meaning leveraged income is more powerful than linear income. We talked about that. That was a huge one, guys. All these are huge. Your network is your net worth. Reinvented myself as a technology and as business changed. I continue to reinvent myself with now social media, and then it's going to be something else. Helping people get what they want ultimately gave me what I wanted, and you become who you hang around, okay? That last one, you become who you hang around. If I can give you any gift, my friends, a lot of times you're doing the correctly, but then when you go home at night and the girlfriend, boyfriend is influencing down a different road, the mom or dad's calling you and telling you this, X, Y, and Z. The people you're going to have a dinner with are telling you Y and double P and all this nonsense, because they're staying in a situation where you currently are. And they don't want you to grow. They don't want you to get better. They're scared of you moving on because they don't want to do the work to get better. You have to protect your mind, and you got to be aware of it. Get your head out of your ass. You got to be aware of it, because most people don't realize the power of law of association. You do become the 5 people you hang around. This has been amazing. Go back and take a look at some of the points that you need in your life to clean up, or all of them. And I'll see you on the next Digital Entrepreneur Podcast with Anthony Powell. Bye for now.